Have you ever wondered to be on the verge of crossing the bridge, and all of a sudden, your dog hangs out on the floor, doesn't want to take it a step further, as if something invisible were warning you of impending danger? What if I told you that, seconds later, that same bridge collapses in front of your eyes, turning for a moment into an experience that is a mixture of fear, surprise, and gratitude? What are you going to find out now that can surprise you and change the way you see the connection between humans and their pets? This story starts out in a way that is simple, almost routine. A man and his dog out for a walk with the usual one of those moments that don't seem to keep anything out of the ordinary. But, as you well know, the unexpected can happen at any moment, and that seemed to be just a short walk soon turns into one of the episode he challenges the sense of and communication between the species. Have you ever gone through the situations in which your pet seems to know anything about that? Can't you take in? Stay with me until the very end, because that's all I'm going to tell you. It is a striking example of this connection is deep and mysterious. On that day, he was absent-minded. You might think about the tasks for the day, as long as your loyal companion was in the path of the curiosity and energy, as always. But when you get closer to the bridge, something has changed. The dog suddenly stopped, almost as if he felt a presence and that the man didn't notice. He fell to the ground and began to growl softly, and the dog's leash, which was then released, it was tight, as if the animal was trying to stop the advance. This unexpected reaction that caused strange and a little bit of a frustration. The owner, who did not understand the reason for the resistance. Can you imagine the scene? A man is trying to go his own way as long as your dog refuses to walk, but with a clear message that something wasn't quite right. In this pause, an uncomfortable, full of tension, that's exactly what we've saved one's life. For more, that may be a strange thing. To the animals, they have a sensitivity that is often beyond our comprehension. And it seemed to be just an act of stubbornness or fear. It was, in fact. It is a warning that is quiet and powerful. But what happened after that? How's this knee-jerk reaction of the dog has changed the destiny of this man? The answer to this is going to be revealed to you, and I assure you that you will be moved and be amazed at the intelligence and awareness of these amazing animals. So, do not get out of there, because this story is far from over, and what comes next is going to show you how a simple gesture can mean the difference between life and death. It's amazing how, in the midst of the chaos of the moment, and the dog seemed to capture something that eluded the eyes of all. It was not just an animal reacting by instinct. It was a connection, a deep, almost magical, that has arisen between him and the old man. In this connection, unspoken, made of looks and gestures, to remind us of the power of the small details they have to transform, and apparently no way out. And it is precisely because of this that I want to listen to you right now. If this topic makes no sense to you, leave it here in the comments that you have touched this part of the story. It can be a feeling, a memory, or a difference of opinion. The most important is that your voice is part of that conversation. Your being here is what makes this channel grow, and to reach more people with this sort of content that thrills, inspires, and connects them. If you are enjoying this journey and you wish to continue looking through every step of this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is not just a gesture, it's a vote of confidence in order for us to continue bringing you stories like this one that show the best in human nature and the animal kingdom. And of course, the more we are together, the greater will be the impact of the message. So, enjoy it, leave your comment, like, and come with me because there is so much more to come. What many people don't realize is that every decision we make carries a burden far greater than we can imagine. It is not only a choice of in the moment, but the transformation is quiet, which is shaping our way of thinking, our way of looking at the world, and of course we are the same. This is the truth that is hidden, that which is often overlooked, is present in all aspects of our journey and behind the scenes of our actions and reactions. And it is precisely in that gap between what we see and what we're left with is saved, that is the real power of change. When we come to examine the impact of small actions, we see that they are like seeds sown in fertile ground. It may blossom into amazing opportunities, or get lost in the silence, depending on the care and consciousness that are dedicated to them. The mind, therefore, is not something fixed, but as a living organism that grows, adapts, and transforms itself according to the people, if it allows you to see beneath the surface. This is the key to understanding why some people are able to break down the barriers that seemed insurmountable, while the others remain standing, even when faced with the same terms and conditions. It is at this point that comes to the importance of looking within, to do an exercise in honest self-awareness. When you start to see what are the limiting beliefs that you carry, those inner voices that whisper, there's going to be all right, or you are not able to, we open up space for a revolution on the inside. In this process, and it may seem uncomfortable, it is really the fuel for the transformation you have been searching for. It is a journey that takes courage, because that challenge is what is ingrained in us. It demands a certain level of vulnerability, and a willingness to face up to the truth hidden within your own mind. But it is precisely because of this rivalry, we find the power to make more informed decisions that are aligned with who you truly want to be. And here we are not talking about just a major choice, but it's the sum of all the small daily decisions that, taken together, constitute constitute the path to a more authentic and complete. This awareness is what is the difference between a person who lives on autopilot, the one who is truly present in, taking over the reins of the story. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because understanding the relationship between thinking and decision-making is the key to unlocking a look behind the scenes of how we behave. The human mind is a universe that is complex, full of nuances and connections, which is not always possible to identify at first sight. For this reason, it is common, even in the face of well-intentioned, we can end repeating patterns that don't lead us to where we want it to. This repetition is a kind of built-in program, a routine, the invisible, who, when not called into question, continues to dictate our every step. But the good news is that it can be rewritten. Each made a conscious decision that we make is a great opportunity to enter a new line in this code is invisible. It is a chance to change the course of our history. And in order for that to happen effectively, it is necessary to go beyond the motivation is fleeting, and that it is often ephemeral, and to immerse themselves in the construction of the habits of the solid, in line with our values and dreams. This is a real lever of transformation, is not just a want, but to act with consistency, even when it's the excitement, the initial decrease. In addition to this, it is interesting to see how the environment in which we live has a direct influence on this process. The people among whom they live, the places they frequented, and even the information that we operate, such as mirrors, filters, shaping our perception of reality. Because of this, you create a positive environment that is just as important as it is to cultivate the right mindset. It is as if it were growing in a garden where the seeds of change, they need good soil to grow in. And here is where another key point is the importance of recognizing that the time doesn't have to be alone. Share your experiences, hear stories, and to be open to learning from the different perspectives are powerful ways to broaden our vision and deepen our walk. The human interaction brings about revelations and valuable. It shows that the problems we face are not unique, and that is the road to transformation is a collective, even though each play their own courses. For this reason, it is critical to maintain an attitude of curiosity and a constant, to be willing to ask questions, to break down the old stories, and to embrace the new, and with a look of hope and confidence. Is this the attitude is the one that drives the progress? What to do with the day-to-day to become not only a destination, but an experience full of learning and discovery. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. I want to explore how these changes are built in. Such decisions are aware of it, will reverberate in all areas of your life, having an impact on not only our personal world, but also the connections that are established and the legacy that we have left we passed. The true transformation, one that stirs the soul, takes place at the very time when we can align the mind, heart, and action, creating a powerful synergy is able to move mountains. He comments that, I'm on this journey too. When we begin to understand that true transformation is not just an abstract concept, but a living experience that beats inside of us, things change dramatically. It's as if you wake up to a whole new dimension of one's own existence, in which each thought, each feeling, each to gain a strength and a purpose known. This deep connection between the mind, heart, and action, and does not happen overnight, nor does it with ease. It is about having the courage to face up to the truths that are hidden, available for the break-in to the old standard, and the delivery is sincere in the process, even when everything seems to be uncertain or uncomfortable. The journey to this alignment, it is full of wonders. It's full of little revelations that gradually unveil what has been hidden behind our masks and limiting beliefs. And it is precisely at this point that the mind turns out to be a decisive factor, because it is not enough just to want to change. You must be willing to challenge your own way of looking at the world and the stories we tell about ourselves and the conditions in the trap. To change the mindset that is open space for the new, the unknown, to that which challenges their comfort zone, which for the most family-friendly and safe and secure as it may seem, it is often the biggest obstacle to economic growth. It is curious to notice how, when the mind begins to break free of these bonds, in the heart of the accompanying course of this movement, as if in a wave of honesty and authenticity to invade our life, and there you have it, the action ceases to be a mechanic or a bond-heavy, in order to become a natural extension of what we truly believe and feel. That's the magic of synergy, is that it changes when you think about what you feel and what you do are in harmony with the impact on our lives is profound and long-lasting. But this transformation does not happen in an isolated environment and in the context of the pure theory. It is manifest in everyday life, the decisions of a small, seemingly insignificant, that we make every day, and they're going, little by little, building a path to meaning and purpose. It is against this backdrop that the real power in the choice of whether to reveal it, because every step you take, every action carries with it the potential to reinforce old patterns and to create new opportunities. And sometimes we don't understand these trade-offs are like the seeds that we planted on the fertile ground of our daily lives, and that, at the time, flowers bloom in the results. There are beautiful, almost poetic, and in the process, because the transformation is not a straight line, but the dance is made to the progress and setbacks of Clareza's You Have Any Questions, moments of brightness, and the other in silence. This dynamic is that it lends to the authenticity of the journey, because it shows that that the path isn't about perfection, but about constant learning, and about the courage it takes to follow, even when the answers aren't clear-cut. In this dance, the resilience becomes a friend and indispensable, because it is the one that keeps you secure when on the ground it seems to be unstable, or when those expectations are broken. Over the course of the journey, and the impact of the changes go far beyond the individual, reverberating in the development of relationships in the environment around you, and even in the areas that we were not able to measure it easily. It's as if, when you turn on the self, the person is to be passed to the influence of a network of invisible connections, waking up on the other the desire and inspiration to move around. This is an expansion of the transformative effect that creates a virtuous cycle, where the change to no longer be alone, in order to become a collective force, a wave, which is gaining in breadth and power. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because of what's going on behind the scenes of this change could be a key for us to really be able to sustain that energy in our day-to-day life. There is a truth to hide that few talk about, but it makes a world of difference. It's not just about aligning the mind, heart, and action, but what happens when these three things are beginning to talk in a way that is honest and vulnerable. This is the internal dialogue that the changes are, in fact, because it is here that we confront the elements. You acknowledge your fears and find out the motivations, the more genuine it in the drive. In this conversation, the internal demands for a closer look and listen carefully, as if it were unfolding a map of the complex of emotions and thoughts. And for this reason, it is crucial to develop a deeper awareness of yourself, which allows you to understand not only what is visible on the surface, but also on what's in between the lines, in the subtle details that often go unnoticed. It is at this level that the transformation that takes an in-character and authenticity, and if it becomes sustainable, because it does not rely on ready-made formulas, or on the contrary, passengers, but an understanding of the rich and full of himself. In addition to this is the depth it brings to the fore the importance of informed decisions, the ones that are not simply reactions to the automatic, but the choices you make from the clarity of the interior. When you start to make decisions in this way, we realize that the impact goes far beyond that of the immediate future, by tapping on different areas of our lives, and even to influence the course of our history. This awareness extends to our responsibility for what we do, and we invite you to be the protagonists of the assets of our own, a transformation. For this reason, it is essential to cultivate inner spaces that facilitate this process, a few moments of pause, reflection, and self-observation, which allows us to get in contact with the deepest levels of ourselves. This is where your journey takes on a new meaning, because it is no longer on the search for something on the outside, but on finding out what is already out there, just waiting to be discovered. It causes a change of mind is very powerful. It transforms the way we see the world, and of course, we are the same. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." From the moment in which this inner transformation begins to happen, the impact on the daily life, it is all but inevitable. Their decisions before seem to be driven by external influences, or to a momentary impulse to now take on a new weight to it, a depth that reflects the true essence of the person. It is as if, finally, we begin to see a behind the scenes of your own mind, and the understanding of the mechanisms by which we move, and the patterns that we repeat it without even noticing. This revelation doesn't just open the doors to a deeper understanding of who we are, but also give us the opportunity to rewrite the narrative that we have a long time ago. And it is there that lies the power to change, the ability to reinvent the basis of the truth hidden that we have found. This journey is not linear, nor is straightforward. It involves facing fears of the ancients, to question the beliefs held and face that we would prefer to avoid. But the more challenging it is to this process, it is also profoundly liberating. When we begin to recognize that many of the limitations that we impose are constructs of the mind itself, the processing gain a sense of even more tangible. This is not just to change the habits of the surface, but to change the very mindset that holds that our choices and behaviors. It is curious to notice how, in this way, the perception of time changes. What once appeared to be in a rush, against the clock, and a matter of urgency, constant, to achieve external goals, it will be an experience, a more aware and in the present. The journey is no longer a sequence of hectic, the tasks that are required to become a process of self-discovery and growth, in which each step is important, and each and every moment is an opportunity to connect with yourself. This is a shift in perspective uncovers a basic truth. The subject is not in the rate at which we are advancing, but the quality of the journey. In addition, this change has a direct impact on the way in which we relate to the world around us, even if it is deeper, and the connections to make it more authentic, and communication to win a tone from the real thing. It's as if, when we align with our own essence, that you have to see each other more clearly, recognizing in him a reflection of our own humanity. This is an expansion of consciousness. It creates a knock-on effect that extends beyond the individual level and the access to the interpersonal relationships, the workplace, the community, and even the way in which we interact with nature and the planet Earth. However, it is important to note that this transformation is not an endpoint, but a standing invitation to the trend. The human mind is complex and full of nuance, and with each new layer, which we show you, come up with new questions, new challenges, and new opportunities for growth. For this this reason, to maintain an attitude of curiosity and openness, it is crucial to continue to make progress in this direction. Every time a new discovery, a new window will pop open, revealing the territories are still underexploited in ourselves, and it is this motion that is the true magic of the transformation. I now want to go more in depth on this subject by exploring how this internal change will affect not only our inner world, but also in the way that we make decisions that shape the future of our world. Because at heart, a true transformation happens when we align with what we know, what we think, and what we do. In this tuning, it generates a powerful impact that can alter not only the course of our lives, but also the way in which we affect the environment around you, creating a virtuous cycle of growth and to learn from each other. In this context, the understanding of the behind the scenes of our choices is the key to unlocking how the mind shapes itself to the fact that we have built. Many of the times, we are caught up in the patterns in the automatic limiting our potential without even knowing. To bring this awareness to the surface, we can begin to challenge these barriers are all but invisible, and thus, to open up space for new possibilities. It is as if one were taking part in a revelation of the inner one, where the mind is no longer a barrier, and it is an ally to powerful in building the life we want. And it is precisely in the intersection of self-discovery, and now that it's the true transformation happens. Don't you just have to know where we are or what we want? It is necessary to act in line with this fact, making decisions that reflect this mindset. This alignment generates a multiplier effect, because every single conscious decision strengthens the self-confidence and encourages motivation to keep moving forward. For a few, this is a new way of living has become a habit, a natural way of being in the world that brings you the most fulfillment, balance, and purpose. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too." And it is precisely at this point that the transformation starts to become palpable, almost tangible, not just a distant idea, but it's something that shows up in every single gesture, every decision that we do not defer to face it head on. When we align our actions with the fact that we have discovered about ourselves, we don't only of a virtuous cycle, but it is a real revolution in the house. This is not the case for the night and the day, of course, because they change the patterns that are already present, requires a kind of courage is to be silent, almost invisible to an outsider, but it reverberates deeply in the people who are living this journey. It is fascinating to notice how, as we move forward, we start to see situations in a new light. To those which before seemed to be insurmountable obstacles will now show up as an opportunity in disguise. This change in perspective is one of the revelations of the most powerful that you come out of this process. It is as if, little by little, the fog chagava our vision is to be dissipating, allowing it to clearly be in the new tab. And with that clarity comes the ability to make decisions, and so much more aligned with our essence, with what is really important, and not just what the world or in a routine we push them to do so. The impact it can have on our lives is profound, because it is when we begin to act in a conscious manner, we see that we are no longer at the mercy of the impulse of the moment, or from the outside expectations. We are the protagonists of our own history, and this sense of ownership is a potentially life-changing. It builds a trust that is not dependent on the recognition of others, but it is born out of an understanding of what we're building something real and solid, then it makes sense for us. This mindset carries with it a weight that is different, not to make it more rigid, but in order to give us the freedom to be yourself, even if it means swimming against the tide. In the background, this day is also a call to explore all the behind the scenes of one's mind, to try to understand the thoughts and beliefs that have shaped the way up here. Many of the times, we are the general truths that are hidden from those narratives, the internal work, such as scripts, automatic, thus limiting our ability to see other possibilities. To bring these stories to light, we can compare them, to question them, and finally, to replace them with the narratives that empower us instead of the lock-in. This change of mind is the key that opens the door to a life that is aligned and in full. But it's important to remember that this isn't a straight line. It's a journey, turns, ups and downs. Where is the patience and the perseverance to become the ally can't live without? Every step forward is a victory, and for each block, a learning, a call to adjust the route. You can further refine your mindset and to move forward with more clarity. In this process, the analysis turns out to be a lighthouse, which is a force that keeps the focus is on even when the storms either internal or external are trying to divert from the path. And it is this authenticity that makes sense at all, because it is the one that connects them to the truth of the bowl with the way we choose to live in the world. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because there is no truth to hide, that few dare to explore the power of small, daily decisions to shape not only what we do, but who we become, in fact. Each choice, no matter how simple it may seem, it has a direct impact on the construction of our identity and the way we experience life. This is the essence of a real transformation, a process that is gradual but relentless, one that redefines what we think is possible for ourselves. And when you start to see the size of that impact, and we believe that's true, the change is not in the grand gestures, isolated, but the sum of all the small actions that are aligned with our essence. It is at this point that the journey becomes an experience, a constant movement that defines defies all in the doldrums and invites us to reinvent continuously. It's as if you're continually writing and rewriting the script of our own existence by adding layers of meaning and depth of each chapter. This dynamic brings a unique sense of purpose and fulfillment, as each step is taken with the consciousness of it is a step in the direction of what we really want to be. And that realization is what makes the way of something so much more than a mere sequence of events. She becomes a true expression of our inner selves. With that in mind, we can begin to understand that balance and satisfaction you are searching for are not the final destination, but in the states that arise when we live in harmony with our true on the inside. It is this harmony, in turn, creates a resonance positive, which extends to all areas of your life, having an impact on our relationships, our work, and to the way in which we view the challenges as well. It's a knock-on effect reinforces the idea that personal transformation is at the same time. It's a journey, both internal and dance with the world around us. He comments that I'm on this journey too. And in this dance, which is so subtle and powerful, a lot of times it happens behind the scenes to quiet our minds and in our hearts. It is, in the internal space, the real revelations are beginning to emerge, ones that will change the way we do and every decision, every challenge, even for the small everyday choices. The transformation is, after all, is not a one-off event, but an ongoing process that takes place in the layers. It's like we're uncovering the truth hidden within ourselves. When you begin to realize that each and every step, as simple as it may seem, it has a direct impact on our way of thinking, something inside of us to change. We understand that we are not just a viewer of our history, but are the protagonists of the asset, able to shape the roadmap of what we want to live in. This awareness brings a responsibility and an immense freedom. Because of the recognition that we all have the power to choose how you react and how to interpret it and what are the paths to follow, we opened up the space for a new reality as manifest. It's fascinating to see how this change is reflected in our personal relationships. The harmony in which we grow internally, it starts to have an effect on the way we connect with each other. We want to listen to talk about it with more intention, and to look beyond the surface. This creates an atmosphere of trust and empathy, and where the conversations will gain in depth and the involvement of civil society can flourish. It is not simply a change in the surface, it's an evolution, which touches the core of human connection by turning the conflict into opportunities for growth and understanding. But you don't have to stop there. The journey, internal, it also has a direct influence on the way we think about work and business challenges. Suddenly, the pressures do not seem to be more of an intolerable burden, but rather the opportunity to practice resilience, creativity, and the ability to adapt to change. The mind shall be a reference, powerful, not because we are ignorant of the obstacles, but it's because we learn to navigate them with a stance that is more self-aware, less reactive, and more strategic. This is a movement that creates a virtuous cycle that feeds our motivation, and it strengthens our sense of purpose. It is at this point that the transformation is no longer just an abstract idea, and if it becomes a force that might be touched, and that is driving real change and long-lasting. We think that all of this takes place very slowly, almost imperceptibly, but the truth is that each and every small decision-making, the new habit is cultivated, it will add up and create a wave of impact that extends to all areas of your life. And this increase, in turn, connects us to something larger than ourselves, an invisible web of possibilities, and encourages us to constantly evolve. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because understanding these dynamics is to go beyond just recognizing the power of self-transformation. It is the understanding of the critical role that you and our mentality is to play in the whole of the journey. The mind is not something that is fixed, immovable. It is a fertile land that can be cultivated, nurtured, and grown. Thinking about it, you realize that behind every decision we make, there is a set of beliefs, values, and standards that shape our perception of the world. And that is what determines, in the final analysis, the impact of which we were able to generate in our own lives and in the lives of those around us. This awareness opens the door to a profound change in the way we look at the challenges and the opportunities. When we allow ourselves to question your limiting beliefs and replace them with a broader perspective, the transformation happens from the inside to the outside, creating a strong foundation for sustainable growth. It's as if we're recalibrando our built-in GPS, setting a route to a destination that makes the most sense for who we truly are, not for what others expect us to be. In addition to this is a journey of self-discovery and personal development. We connect you with the essence of freedom, this liberty, in the absence of external limitations. It is an inner freedom, which was created for the clarity onto those who are out of alignment with our deepest values, and the courage to live by them, even when the way is not an easy or popular. That's the true transformation, is a silent revolution that is happening in the very heart of our existence, and which in turn is manifested in the world in surprising ways. And it is precisely this connection between freedom, authenticity, and impact, which makes it such a special day. Because when we allow ourselves to be true to ourselves, we create a ripple effect that touches every area of our lives, from the small interactions in the day-to-day to large-scale projects that we dream of accomplishing. This transformation is a never-ending never-ending source of energy, and the motivation and purpose that drives us to continue moving forward, even in the face of difficulties. If you think of life as a series of choices, each and every moment is an opportunity to reaffirm that mindset and to this new way of looking at the world. And it is precisely at this point that the transformation is no longer a concept of the far and turns into a reality that is present in each and every step of the journey. This change is well understood and implemented, has the power to rewrite our own high standards, expand our vision, and create a life more in tune with what you really want. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." When you start to realize that the transformation is not just a word, it is beautiful, but it is a real force that shapes our history, something inside of us to be open to new possibilities. It's as if suddenly you could try to look beyond the obvious, however, to the limitations in a Prajnavam. This change in mentality doesn't happen overnight, nor is it an isolated event. It is a continuous process, made the decisions, large and small, from the times in which we choose to look within and face up to the truth it hides that we have. And it is precisely at this point that the impact of the transformation to begin to have an effect on our day-to-day life. More than just a change of habits, this day calls for a revolution in the silent house. We question the beliefs that have been imposed upon them, the stories that we repeat it as if they were absolute truths, but rather are limited in our ability to take action and to dream. When we allow ourselves to this challenge, we make room for an expansion that extends far beyond what we imagined to be possible. It's as if we're revealing the behind the scenes of our own existence and discovering the engines that drive our choices and emotions, and with the understanding that we can, however, write that screenplay. But the journey isn't linear, and it is important to recognize the challenges that are a part of the process. Many of the times, and the transformation it brings out inner conflicts, fears of the ancients who continue to show up, and women who seem to want to keep us tied to the well-known. However, it is facing all these obstacles that the growth in the real case. Each and every difficulty overcome, it works like a stepping stone that elevates them to a level of higher consciousness and self-awareness. And it is in this space of learning, that is, the transformation becomes a deep and long-lasting, because they are not built on fads or the expectations of the outside, but a genuine commitment to our evolution. Over the course of the journey, we also realize that the transformation affects not only ourselves, but everything around us. Our relationships go through a kind of natural renewal, as when we change our frequency, internal, and the people and things that you're attracted to is also reflected in this new manner. This doesn't mean that everything is going to be perfect or easy, but the quality of the connections are deeper, gaining authenticity and meaning. Life is beginning to reveal more of the colors, the nuances, and possibilities. It's as if we are opening a window for a view over a vast and full of surprises. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic, because they understand that the dimension of the transformation, it is critical for us to truly embrace the potential that it has to offer. When we talk about transformation, we often think only of the external changes, a new job, a move to the city for a hairstyle that is different. But the truth is hidden. It is the inner transformation, the one who changes the way we perceive ourselves and the world. It is this transformation that creates a basis for more informed decisions in a row, to a mindset that cannot be shaken easily by the storms of this life, and who is ready to reinvent itself as many times as you need. This reinvention is one of the most fascinating aspects of that journey. It's not about looking for a perfect version of ourselves, but must be ready to evolve, to release old patterns that no longer serve you, and to be open to the new, the courage and authenticity. It is a process of self-discovery, which is patience and compassion, because inevitably, we will find in times of doubt and insecurity. Yet, it is precisely in these moments that the true transformation is, because it forces us to look inward and to consciously choose who we want to be, regardless of the external circumstances. See, it is a call to take responsibility for their own lives, while recognizing that we are the co-authors of our story. Every thought, every action, every decision carries a weight that has a direct influence on the course of your journey. And when you begin to take action, and with this in mind, we find that the transformation is no longer an abstract concept and makes it an experience of the living, beating, which guides us and inspires you. The impact is so great that it echoes in every aspect of our lives, from the way in which we relate to the way in which we view the challenges as well. This journey is not alone. On the contrary, it connects us to the invisible network of people who are searching for meaning, growth, and living a life that makes sense. To share this easy-to-split findings and lessons learned, it's part of the process of strengthening our minds and leads us to the next. And it is precisely because of this sharing, you will often find the biggest signs it with the other. It reflects aspects of our that we might not have been ready for the sight of them alone. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject matter, bringing to light how such a transformation can be a source of renewed energy and able to drive us to make concrete changes and long-lasting. When you internalize this process, we've realized that we're not at the mercy of our circumstances, but we do have a power within us that oftentimes we don't know, a power that can be awakened and cultivated in order to create a life that is truly aligned with our values and dreams. And it is this very awareness opens the door to a new phase of our journey, and where the processing is still a way off at the moment, and it will be the driving force of our choices on a daily basis. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too." When we begin to see the transformation as well as anything that touches the day-to-day, it is no longer an abstract concept, and far away to make it there, almost palpable. It's as if, suddenly, one of those little decisions that before seemed to be an insignificant gain weight differently, the magnitude that is unprecedented. The mind adjusts, begins to realize that every step you take, every choice is a fundamental building block in the construction of this new version of us, and that moves you deeply with our own sense of purpose and direction. The impact of such a change does not happen so sudden, like a flash you add up shortly thereafter, but is evident in the finesse of the daily life, in the small victories that build up in the inner battles that we've left behind. The beauty of this transformation is just that the progression is slow, but steady, defying the impatience natural to the human mind. It is an invitation to look behind the scenes of our own story, recognize the efforts of the unseen, which is behind the success, and understand that real change is not a straight line, but it's a journey full of ups and downs, advances, and setbacks. When you get in the rhythm, you start to realize that the key is not in the great revolution of a sudden, but the consistency of the actions that we take, in the persistence to maintain focus, even when the motivation seems to be lacking. This consistency reveals the truth hidden that very few want to admit, is that the process of transformation that is above all an exercise of patience and resilience. It is the ability to remain steady in the face of adversity. It is for not giving up on the journey when the results are slow to come out, to cultivate a mindset which appreciates the value of the incremental progress at the time of the short-term perspective. Thus, the impact of this new way of looking at the transformation goes far beyond that of the individual. It reverberates in our relationships, in the environments in which we attend to, in the way that we connect with the world around us. The day seemed to be a lonely one, and is marked by doubt and uncertainty. He began to draw as it's a shared experience, where the support of each other, and the exchange of learning, if you have become essential components for the growth of the collective. This invisible network of support strengthen each one, thus creating a multiplier effect that increases the scope of the change. In this context, the decisions you get a size that is unprecedented. They cease to be mere acts impulsively, and make informed decisions that align with a greater purpose. Each choice, no matter how simple it may seem, it carries a deeper meaning, and it can be the spark that ignites a new phase, one that is driving the transformation to a higher level. It's as if, once you understand the value of these decisions, it would learn a kind of internal map to guide us with a very easy to use, avoiding the misuse and waste of energy. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is at this point that a true revolution in the mental case. It's easy to get carried away by the surface of the solutions, the temptation of a short-term perspective, that in our digital age, both to promote it, but what really turns it is not the one who glows on the outside, but built on the inside, with consistency and truth. There is a quiet strength that works behind the scenes of our minds to shape our perception and influence our ways of life, and therefore, setting the course of your journey. It is fed by the way in which we interpret our experiences, and the story that we tell ourselves about who we are and where we want to go. To fit this narrative, one that is to come to grips with the limiting beliefs and change your inner dialogue, we make room for real growth and sustainable development. It's then that it happens, the real transformation of the mind, a revolution which goes beyond the surface and sets it as a new foundation for all our actions. With this in mind, we began to see that the transformation is not a destination, but an ongoing process, a journey that challenges us to revisit constantly and our choices, to question our own high standards, and always looking for a more authentic to ourselves. It is an invitation to be present and live it with intention, to see that each moment carries within itself the possibility of a new start, a new chance to rewrite the history. And it is precisely this insight that allows us to push the boundaries of what we believe to be possible, and that drives us to explore uncharted territory, to go out of your comfort zone and embrace the unknown with courage and curiosity. What seemed to be an insurmountable barrier becomes, in time, an opportunity to learn and grow. In the transformation, and finally, she reveals her true face. It's not something to be feared, but it is a powerful ally in the construction of a life more fulfilling and meaningful life. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. From the moment that we begin to see a transformation in how to be an ally, or almost completely, it's not an outside force that is in the video, but it's something that's going on inside of us, almost in a whisper, who dares to open your eyes to new possibilities." This is a change of mindset, is the real turning point, because if we accept that discomfort is a part of the journey, we stopped to fight him and began to draw lessons that fuel our development. It's strange to think that the resistance, before it consumed so much energy, it can be channeled into something more productive, but that is exactly where that is the beauty of this transformation. The impact of this new vision goes beyond the boundaries of one's personal life and starts to have an effect on every aspect of our daily life. The decisions, which before seemed to be loaded with fear and doubt, come to be seen as an opportunity to prove our courage to care. Each choice, no matter how small, carries the potential potential for the growth of the mind, scratch-resistant, and couldn't see it. And that's where the truth is hidden. It begins to reveal the fear. It seemed to be an obstacle for a lot. It is, in fact, a portal for the expansion of consciousness. We notice that the limit is not in the situation that, in and of itself, but the way in which we can understand the situation. This is a revelation that transforms the way in which we take a look behind the scenes of our story. We begin to see our own high standards of behavior and to understand the reasons that lead us to act in certain ways. It is as if, finally, we have access to a manual procedure that could explain the motivations behind the choices we make, often unconsciously. This awareness brings about a sense of freedom, which by then it was unheard of. Not that the problems go away, but it's how we deal with them makes it a lot lighter, because right now we are in possession of a powerful tool, the self-awareness. And it is at this point that the journey is made even more fascinating, is because self-knowledge is not something that is achieved once and for all, but it's an ongoing process of discovery and adjustment. Each new experience is an opportunity to deepen that relationship with ourselves and, by extension, the world around us. The transformation is no longer an isolated event to make it a practice. A way of living that allows us to improve without the pressure of achieving perfection is impossible. This is a change of paradigm. It is essential for those who want to build a more fulfilling and meaningful life. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because they understand that the internal dynamics are just the beginning. The next step is to understand how such a transformation, which is now no longer scares you, it can be used to have a positive impact on the environment around us. After all, that's our change doesn't happen in a vacuum. It reverberates in the impact on the people and experiences that are a part of our everyday life. It is where we enter into a realm that involves empathy, communication, and the ability to inspire other people to also embrace their own journeys of growth. This connection between personal transformation and the impact of the collective, it is perhaps one of the facets of the most powerful of our time together. To understand these dependencies, we can begin to understand the true power of transformation lies in its ability to create a domino effect, where one with simple pull of the internal trigger, a significant change in the networks is far greater than we can imagine. This insight opens up space for the spirit a more collaborative, where the success of the individual is celebrated, but always conscious of the fact that it is part of a larger context. This view broadens our horizon and invites us to take an active part in making the world a more conscious and connected. However, for the influence that happened to you in the form genuine, it is necessary for the transformation to be real, and not just window dressing. The revelations that arise during this process and cannot be ignored or minimized. It is necessary to respond to them, even when they are uncomfortable or because it is in them that is the real opportunity for growth. This is the courage to look inward, face your own limitations and weaknesses. It is what makes the transformation is really a deep and long-lasting. It is also a call for change that goes beyond the superficial and the impact on all levels of our being. When we begin to understand that these scenes, we see that the transformation is a delicate dance between what we want to achieve and what we need to get back to it. This dance requires balance, patience, and above all, a mind open to the unexpected. In the end, the journey rarely follows a linear path, and that is exactly on the turns and twists and turns we encounter the greatest lessons. This is the acceptance of the unpredictable and prepares us to deal with the challenges on the way to a more resilient, making each snare a step closer to your emotional maturity and self-realization. That knowledge, in turn, will be reflected in the relationships that we have cultivated and the way we position ourselves in front of the world. The transformation is not just an inner experience, but it is a sign that can be experienced in the practice, attitudes, and choices for the day. This is the consistency between what we know and what we want to express that generates an alignment, strengthening our identity and self-esteem. It is as if, finally, we dwell in our own truth, more reliable and lighter, without having to carry the weight of the skins or the expectations of others. And it is precisely in this light weight which makes the journey to a sustainable, because when we allow ourselves to be who we really are, and the process of transformation is no longer a battle, and it turns out to be a celebration. Celebrate each step forward, each and every insight is achieved, each and every small victory. It is essential to keep up the momentum and motivation. This celebration creates a virtuous cycle that feeds on the continuation of the journey of changing the way something fun and rewarding, and not just a means to an end. This is a change from the look at that. It makes all the difference, because it connects us with the essence of what it means to evolve. Now, as we go further, it is also important to consider how this idea can be used in different areas of our lives, from work to personal relationships. The transformation does not occur in isolation, and that's the way how we choose to navigate through these different levels can enhance or hinder your progress. To understand the nuances of the situation, challenges, and the unique opportunities they offer, it's an exercise that requires the attention and sensitivity. This ability to adapt is one of the great revelations that come when you start to integrate with the transformation as a process of living, and on the fly. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too. If you've come this far, it's because you're really seeking to understand and grow up together with all these ideas, and that has made all the difference." It is precisely this type of connection is where we share, learn, and reflect together. It makes for the content on here is so special to you. If this chat, it made sense to you, feel free to subscribe to the channel as we'll continue the exchange of experiences and discoveries, bringing something useful for your day-to-day life. And since we're on this journey, you just leave it in a comment below saying, "I'm on this journey." It'll be great to know that you are keeping track of it until the very end, and this message resonated with you. In addition to this, a like on the video to help show that conversation, it was well worth it. And of course, it strengthens that connection that we've built over the content. Oh, and before you go, there's a video right here on the side that complements that's exactly what we've just explored. Giving Up a Hit and is still with me over there. I promise that it's going to be a sequel that's going to add even more to this journey. Get peace of mind. This is a conversation is light, just the way we like it. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.